Okay, so we have a file processing question. It says write a static method name tokenstats. So your method name is tokenstats that accepts. Whenever you see a word accepts, it means it's the parameter they're talking about. It's the values you're accepting from user or from the main method, from the client, or from the method call. So write a static method. This is your static method name that accepts as a parameter a scanner. So as you can see, the font difference, which is telling you that these are some things you need to make sure that these are the things that you may need in your code. So token start is your method name. The parameter you're accepting is a scanner containing a series of tokens. It should print out the sum of all the tokens that are legal integers. So if you see any integers, do the sum of all the tokens. As I mentioned, a token, whenever we are talking about file processing, so even when you have like final exam or anything, it's easier to identify this is file processing as they have the title over there, that this is a file processing question. So that makes it easier. But if you don't have that title at the top, and if they are talking about tokens, it means they're talking about the file processing, and anything you write in your file is a token separated by a white space. So double is a token, integer is a token, string, special characters, everything is a token separated by a space. But what type of token? As they have mentioned, sum of all the tokens that are legal integers, sum of all the tokens that are legal doubles, but not integers, and the total number of tokens of any kind. For example, if a scanner called data contains the following tokens, so this is your scanner holding data, which have these some of these data values, some of these values. Then the call, if I make a call token stats and pass this data, the output will be according to this data, which has been given. Integers 13, real numbers 9.14, and total tokens is 6. So as you take a look how this code is working, or if I have to produce this output, what are the things I need to make sure? Like these are the things that, first of all, it's integers. It says that sum of all the integers. So if I take a look at my data, if I take a look at integers, so there are integers. And 10, I see 3. Yes, this is an integer. 3.14, it's not an integer. 10 is an integer, and rest of them are not integers. So it means sum of all the integers, 10 plus 3 will be 13. Sum of all the doubles, which is 3.14 and 6.0. These two are the double. 10.x is not a double. It's kind of a special character, I would say a string or just a token. So when it comes to total tokens, so if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, total tokens are 6. So everything is a token. But what type of token? You have differentiated with integers, doubles, like this. So if the scanner has no tokens, the method should print 0, 0, 0 like this. No tokens mean your file is empty. Okay, so you're just doing a count, you're just doing a sum of integers, sum of real numbers, and counting, doing a total count of all the tokens or all the stuff in that file. You have been doing this like quite previously from I think from chapter 3, where you started learning sum, doing the sum of all the variables, sum, and doing if and else conditions, doing while loop. You have been doing the sum, taking average, doing even odd kind of scenario. Everything you have been doing it previously, but how to utilize the same concept in file processing is a challenge, right? So let's jump onto Eclipse, take a picture of this question, because I won't be switching the screen back and forth. So you must have this question in front of you. I will be doing a reference to the question again and again, like what was the data? So you have the data in front of you to answer me any of the statement if I ask. So what we have to do is we have to read a file. And in that file, what we are doing is, actually, we are not reading a file. We are assuming that it's being passed in, because we are writing a static method. So reading a file is part of like in your main method. So our only concern is reading this scanner, which is this data, whatever the scanner is passed, and assuming that if they have any, doing a test that it will work. So just like I was talking about your assignment, so my code, I have no idea what this scanner is holding, but whatever the code I am about to write will work for every type of file. So if the file is empty, my code will work. If the file has some values, my code will work. If file has all integers, then it will work. If the file has all double values, still my code will work. Okay, so it doesn't matter what scanner is holding. I'm not writing a default code. I'm writing a code, a variable code, I would say, which will vary from file to file, and it will print the output according to that given data. Okay, so let's switch to Eclipse. Eclipse. Can you see my screen? Can you see Eclipse? Yes, no? I have a question. Stuart, you have a question? Any questions? Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see Eclipse? Are you looking at the right screen, Eclipse? Okay, great. So this was the previous code we have been doing so far. So let's get started. We have to start with our static method. So we have to write a static method. Wait, my screen is frozen. Take a while. Wait. Sorry about that. Okay, we'll switch to at the bottom over here. So it says class and main method. I think the last curly braces is your class. So I will be writing my static method outside of the main method and inside of the class. So public static, our method name is, what's the return type? What do you think is the return type? Use chat, kindly participate and answer quick. What is the return type? Void. Yes, the return type is void. Method name is tokenstats. And what we are accepting from user? What we are accepting? We are accepting a scanner. Again, my screen is frozen. We are accepting scanner. Let's say S. You can give any name to scanner, starting curly braces and ending curly braces. So this is your method header. If you write this method header, you will get 3 points just for the method header, where you are identifying the number of parameters and the return type. Then what we have is we are doing a count. So we are counting different scenarios, right? We have all of them. Scanner, this S is holding tokens. So now we have to differentiate whether that token is an integer or whether that token is a double. And doesn't matter what that token is, we also have to do a total count of tokens. So it means we need some counter variables who will do a total count, right? So int total equals to 0, because as we are doing the sum. Then we have a sum. If we have any integers, we have to do the sum of all the integers. To do the sum of all the integers, it means the sum will be int, the data type will be int, so it will be sum equals to 0. And then we have to do the sum of all the doubles. So if we are doing sum of all the doubles, it will be, the data type will be double. Let's say D equals to 0.0. These are all the variables who are keeping track. Again, I lost my mouse. Okay, who are keeping track of all the counts in our method. Now, which loop do you think we need? It's obvious that we need a loop because we have to go through that S and look for all the tokens we have, right? So while loop, we will go use the while loop. While, what will be the method name? Like what will be the condition? Sorry, what will be the condition? While what? As long, run this loop, as long what? As long we have what? S dot, because S is the one who is holding all the data, right? As mentioned in our code, as in our question as well, that S is holding the data, or data, they have said scanner data, who's holding S dot has next, as long we have something to read. So has next is counting everything. If you recall from your PowerPoint slide, has next is counting all the integers, all the doubles, and all the special characters. So has next will have everything. So inside, as long we have everything, we will run this loop as long we have something to read in our file. So while s dot has next, now inside we need conditions. We have conditions that if it's an integer, do a count in this sum. If you see a double, do a count over here. And if you see a token, whether it's an integer, double, or a special, do total plus plus, right? That's simple. That's what we have been given a task. If what? Starting with if what? What will be our condition? If use the chat, if what? Students who mentioned that they can complete, yes. If yes has next. So if s dot has next int, I have to write it. Has next int, if you see an integer. So if you see an integer, then what? If you see an integer, then what? If you see an integer, you have to do sum plus equals to what? How to take the integer. So this is the has method, has next int, has next. They are only returning you Boolean, true and false. To get the value, as you said, as we're talking about the integer, so if this condition is true, it means we have an integer to read. So we will say s dot next int, give us that integer. After you say s dot next int, it has given you or added the sum, wherever you have statement written, it will add the value to the sum. And this is kind of an increment operator as well, that by giving you the value, it has moved to the next token. It has moved to the next token. And now this is just the next int. Now we have another condition, which will be else if s dot what? What is the next thing we are looking for? Next thing we are looking for is the double. S dot has next. Oh, my screen is okay. Has next double. So as you see a double, that's else if, because we don't want multiple if conditions. We don't want every if condition to run. So if that token is an integer, don't check rest of the things. If that token is not an integer, check if that token is a double. So if that token is a double, then what? Who is keeping track of our double? D. D plus equals to I have to close some of my apps. D plus equals to s dot next double and semicolon. So if that's not a double, then add it to, if that's a double, add it to my D. And now our else is the case where we have else, just do the increment. Just do the increment s dot next, and it will just, because otherwise it will be stuck and you will have an infinite loop. You have to make sure that if that's not an integer and if s is not a double, it means it's a special character or a string. So you have to say s dot next. Otherwise it will stick to one of the variable or one of the token and keep on running the same loop. You need to move the loop, right? And one thing you need to do is inside of that while loop is total plus plus. That doesn't matter if it's an integer or double or next. You have to say total plus plus, because total is keeping track of all the tokens. So this is where your this is where main method, and this is where your this is where your class ends. Let me write it down so it's easier. This is where your static method ends. And so before static method, we have to print system.out.println, and we have to write integers space concatenation operator. Who was keeping track of integers? Sum, I believe. System.out.println, who was keeping track of double, or I will say real numbers, and colon space concatenation operator, I think it was D, semicolon, then we have system dot out dot println, let's say total tokens, and total tokens was keeping track by total. Concatenation operator and a semicolon, and this will be inside of the while loop. So I think I'm missing Control X. Let me count the curly braces. I don't see any errors, but let's count. This is where my static method starts. This is where my while loop starts. If starts and closed, else if starts and closed. This is where my while loop ends. So put it inside. Total plus plus. So just to avoid any errors. Okay, this is where comment while loop ends, and just make it a little token stats, and this is what we have our output. So any questions so far? Any questions? Let's remove. This is main method ends. Okay. Let's remove that. We have hours.txt. Let's change the same file hours.txt to something else. Are we printing anything? No, we are not printing. So it means, oh, we are printing system.outerprint. So it means we just have to make a method called token stats, and we will pass our input scanner, which is our scanner. So let's go to our hours.txt file and make a change as mentioned in our question. So if you recall, we were doing this question previously. So we will switch back. Let me check the data from our question. What was the data? So that we have the same output to compare. So it's 3.14, 10, then just a string 10.x, just to see if it's counting special characters, and Control S. Going back to our file, which was file test, and run our code. I believe everything looks okay. So integers 13, 9.14, and total token 6. The output is exactly similar to our question, in given question. Any questions so far related to the code, related to the question?